Okay, so we're now ready to conclude our Chapter 7 video lecture. We left off facing an ethical decision. And again, I'm anxious to see your responses from this via email. We'll now look at different leadership styles. Different leadership styles. And again, as we're going through the leadership styles, think about your previous managers and see which style best seems to fit those managers you're familiar with. We have autocratic, participative, free reign leadership. With autocratic leadership, managerial decisions are made without consulting others. Now, sometimes this may be necessary when there's an emergency and a decision has to be made quickly, or perhaps when you have new or unskilled workers, they choose an autocratic leadership style. Participative or democratic. Managers and employees work together to make decisions. This approach usually increases job satisfaction because employees feel more inclusive. They feel that they have an impact on what's being done. So this has been proven to be one of the most effective types of leadership style. Free reign leadership. Managers set objectives and employees are relatively free to do whatever it takes to accomplish those goals, most successful when supervising professionals. So I can use myself as an example. As a college professor, we have, I would say, free reign leadership where we have objectives that have to be met for each of our course. However, we're free within a range to determine what format or how we want to make sure that those objectives are being met by our students. Okay? Empowerment. Empowerment. Progressive leaders give employees the authority to make decisions on their own without consulting a manager. So I'm wondering, at your place of employment, do you have empowerment? Are you able to make decisions without having to consult your manager? Okay? With empowerment, customer needs are handled quickly. Manager's role becomes less of a boss and more of a coach. So now, when you empower your employees, now you got to make sure that those employees have been properly trained and they know how to make the right decisions, because if not, that can come back on that manager. Enabling, give workers the education and tools they need to make decisions. So we want to make sure that our employees have been educated from the sense of they know how to do their job. And in terms of actual education, some employees actually allow, well, I should say allow, they have programs where they pay for the employees to go back to school, get degree certification. So I strongly recommend that if your employer has an educational program where they're paying for you to go back to school or go to school, take advantage of that situation. Okay? Managing knowledge, knowledge management. Finding the right information, keeping information in a readily accessible place, and making the information known to everyone in the firm. So my background is accounting, okay? And as an accounting that deals with audits, deal with taxes, you are not going to know, for example, all the tax laws verbally, right? However, you have to know how to access and find the information. So you want to make sure that the firm has information readily accessible for the employees. This keeps people from duplicating work because it's been done already, and we understand that if there's a question, then we can find the information here. The rise of big data requires determining what is most important. So big data, that's a big term in the business world. That's when there's a lot of information being presented to you. Your job is to decipher that information to determine, I see all these numbers, statistics, all this information, but what is the most important? Control function, making sure it works. So we talked about strategic planning, tactic planning, operational planning. We have all these different plans in place, but somebody to make sure that everything is working properly. So with a control function, you would measure performance relative to plan objective. So again, if we're in manufacturing and we plan to produce 100,000 products in the first quarter, how many did we actually produce? Okay? And if we did well, okay, reward those people for work well done. So once again, when I worked in corporate for Merck Pharmaceutical, I had employees. I would have an employee of the month based upon their performance. And they would get a small certificate, maybe something like a free lunch, something of that nature, and they would be recognized. And I promise you, that went a long way. And a thank you. People love when they're recognized for their work. Now, in the control function, if things did not go as planned, let's take any necessary corrective actions to see what needs to be done differently. So this is all part of the controlling function. Okay? So here's the typical control process. First, establish clear standards. So as I mentioned from my class, the standard is you get to class on time, and when class start, you are ready to participate in our discussion. Monitor and record the performance of your employees. Compare the results against the standards. This is important. Communicate those results. So once you have the results, those should be communicated back to your employees. That's why we have evaluations, so that employees understand how they perform. You perform well in these areas, not so well here, and these are areas that we feel that you can improve. If needed, take corrective actions. So, as an employee, as a manager, sometimes they may tell you that if you continue to come late for work, you're going to be put on probation, or you could be sent home for a few days. So sometimes we must take corrective action to make sure that the employee is doing as they should be. Are our standards realistic? So when you're setting these goals for the corporation, establishing your standards, you want to make sure that those standards are realistic and that those standards can actually be met. Okay? Performance in education. One way colleges and universities measure their performance is to track the number of students who complete their degrees or who graduate within a certain number of years. What are some of the factors that could affect the achievement of this performance standard? And how do college administrators take corrective actions when necessary? Now, this is somewhat tricky for us as a community college because sometimes our students are taking courses not necessarily to graduate from a community college, but sometimes they're just taking their first two-level course objective because it's at a cheaper cost before transferring to the four-year school. Now, we do recommend that our students graduate from community college because often when you graduate from community college, when you go to the four-year school, you come in at the junior level. Okay? But make sure that you are taking those classes that are transferable over to the four-year school. Controlling, making sure it works. So how do we know what we're doing is working? Well, a key measurement is customers' satisfaction. And who are your customers? There are external customers and you have internal customers. Okay? So traditional forms of measuring successes are financial, right? We're looking to see if we were profitable over a specified period of time. Pleasing your employees, stakeholders, and your customers is extremely important. Okay? Your external customers could be those who buy your products to sell to others. Okay? Internal customers are your employees, those who work within the actual firm. So often companies focus on their external customers, but they forget about their internal customers. So you want to make sure that both your external customers and your internal customers are satisfied. That's how you measure success and making sure that what you put in place is actually working. If everybody is satisfied, then that company is doing a great job. Okay? The consumer market, reaching smaller market segments. What's your niche? Finding small but profitable market segments and designing or finding products for them. So we're saying now, what is your specialty? Have you find a segment of the population that you can relate to? Okay? One-on-one marketing, developing a unique mix of goods and services for each individual consumer. So again, I'll use myself again with my tax practice. I focalize, not focalize, that's not a word, focalize. It could be, but I specialize in nonprofit organizations, preparing tax returns for nonprofit corporation, and that's known. So most of my clients are nonprofit. So think about yourself. Is there a market where you can specialize in a certain area, whether you're providing a product or a service to those different customers? Okay. Well, I hope you enjoyed these video lectures for chapter 7 on the involving role of managers, these skills required at all 3 levels: top management, middle management, and those who are supervisors, and apply these skills if it is your intent to manage and lead someone. Okay? Have a great day.